Hello, good day, my glorious families. I welcome you to today's chapter of the day. Today's chapter is taken from the book of Esther. Esther, Madam Vashti, how are you? Esther chapter 4. When it comes to the book of Esther, if let's say if a Nigerian pastor narrates the story of Esther, it might be different from how the pastors in US narrate the story of Esther. I would like you to visit the story of Esther and then tell me what Esther did, Queen Esther. What Queen Vashti did. Was it right? How she was being treated by a king. Was it right? Was that right? What do you make of that story? Because there was this impression I used to carry, like, oh, maybe a woman who refused to submit to her husband. But later, I got another kind of impression when women are being treated somehow. You know, in the Bible, the old ones, they didn't treat our women right, most of them. And that is not how it should be. And some men are sitting on that idea today. Meanwhile, you don't want your daughters to be treated like that, forgetting that that woman, that wife is also a child, like a precious child to another parent. So I would like you to visit the book of Esther and tell me, what do you make of that story? So let's ride on to Esther chapter 4, but remember, we are not talking about the whole story, just chapter 4. You know, Bible is a seasonal movie. And if you are not following, you will not know what is going on. Okay, I'm going to rush this. I'm going to try and rush this, okay? So Mordecai appears to Esther. This is after... Anyway, let's read. When Mordecai learned all that had occurred, he tore his clothes, put on sackcloth and ashes, went into the middle of the city and cried loudly and bitterly. May we not have a bitter cry. It's not easy. Verse 2, he went only as far as the king's gate, since the law prohibited anyone wearing sackcloth from entering the king's gate. There was great mourning among the Jewish people in every province, where the king's command and edict came. They fasted, wept, and lamented, and many lay sackcloth and ashes. Remember, why they were sad, wearing sackcloth. Those who do that in those days is because they mourn or for something bad. Why they were, doing all that, they were still fasting and praying. And that's why we need to keep up with that Bible verse that says that do not be anxious for anything, but in everything, with prayer and supplication, and thanksgiving. Which means even though things are not fine with you, do not still forget to give thanks, because you can never tell. To get into one testimony, there is always a story. Like, how do I put it? No pain, no gain, or what do I say? There's this you don't just get a crown if you had not fought. You must have fought. Like someone who went to run a race and you get a trophy. You ran a race first before you could get a trophy. So let's read on. They fasted, they wept, lamented. Many lay in sackcloth and ashes. So they were still praying, fasting, pouring their hearts to God. Esther's female servants and her eunuchs came and reported the news to her, and the queen was overcome with fear. She sent clothes for Mordecai to wear so that he would take off his sackcloth, but he did not accept them. Esther summoned Athak, don't mind me, one of the king's eunuchs, who attended her, and dispatched him to Mordecai to learn what he was doing and why. Hathach went out to Mordecai in the city square in front of the king's gate. Mordecai told him everything that had happened, and as well as the exact amount of money Haman had promised to pay the royal treasury for the slaughter of the Jews. It's not easy to die. Okay, so verse 8. Mordecai also gave him a copy of the written decree issued in Susa, ordering their instruction, so that Hathach might show it to Esther, explain it to her, and command her to approach the king, implore his favor, and plead with him personally for her help, for her people. Verse 9. Hathach came and repeated Mordecai's response to Esther. Esther spoke to Hathach and commanded him to tell Mordecai, all the royal officials and the people of the royal provinces know that one law applies to every man and woman who approaches the king in the inner courtyard and who has not been summoned to death penalty. If you just approach the king without being summoned, without being called, without being invited, unless the king extends the gold scepter, allowing that person to live. I have not been summoned to appear before the king for the last 30 days. Esther's response was reported to Mordecai. Mordecai told the messenger to reply to Esther again this time around. Don't think that you will escape the fate of all the Jews because you are the king's palace. You are in the king's palace. If you keep silent at this time, relief and deliverance will come to the Jewish people from another place, but you and your father's family will be destroyed. Who knows, perhaps you have come to your royal position for such a time as this. Esther sent this reply to Mordecai: go and assemble all the Jews. That means Mordecai talks sense into her. You know, that message Mordecai gave Esther is like, do you wish to be saved and allow the multitude to die? So just try and sacrifice yourself for us. Because that's exactly what Mordecai was telling her. Go ahead and die for us. If you have to die, please go ahead and die. Because this is a multitude and this is not just going to stop here. Our generations to generations are going to suffer for this. So if you got to lay your life, please go ahead and do that. And that's what Jesus did for us a few days ago. He died for us. And guess what? Death couldn't even hold him at ransom. He won victory over them. And that's what we're going to win over all our enemies. And guess what? Esther won as well. Let's read on. Esther sent it. Okay, he said, go and gather them. He said, go and assemble all the Jews who can be found in Susa and fast for me. Fast, oh. That means let's fast and pray. Let's seek the face of God. Don't eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. I and my female servants will also fast in the same way. This is how I fast. Like, this is how my family fast. No water, no drink, no fruits, nothing. Not like water fasting or... Do it the way you can, because some people do it because of health issues, so God understands. But real fasting, it's the dry kind of fasting. But don't worry, whatever you do is also real, because God deals with our heart, not our body or pretense. So let's read on. He said, I and my female servants will also fast in the same way. After all, I will go to the king, even if it is against the law. If I perish, this is the part I respect most. If I perish, I perish. So Mordecai went and did everything Esther had commanded him. So that is the end of chapter 4. And thank God I meet up my time. This is 9:25 minutes. Read on. And guess what happened? Anyway, in the end, Esther won. What do you think? If you were in the position of Esther, would you have done what she did? It takes real love. When I say true love, because normally Esther's supposed to say, excuse me, are you expecting me to die for you guys? Please, everybody shoulder your problem. But seriously, if you're in that situation, what would you have done? Let's, commend Esther. God bless you for listening. I appreciate you, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.